Hey guys, welcome to my Anduin Mythic guide for Frosty Case. In this video I will show you how to play this fight optimally in regards to your cooldowns, positioning, and also how to do the special job that DKs have on this fight. Make sure to drop any questions or feedback in the comments below. Let's get started. So first things first is the setup. You're gonna play Necrolord Frost, and the reason for Necrolord Frost is that you need Abomination Limb for the Kingsmourne phases. This is gonna be your talent and your Soulbind setup. So talent is pretty much baseline Frost, with the one exception that you need Blinding Sleet. And I like Ravefog. Mobility is good in this fight. Then Soulbinds, you play Bonesmith Hymir. You take Spirit Drain. Here there is one very good kick you can get to extend your breath. The interrupt is nice at one part in the fight. But the main reason you play this Soulbind is for Carver's Eye and Gemstone. These two are the big ones that make it good on this fight. There's lots of targets that are above 90% health a long time. Anduin himself, the Remnant 2 times. And it's just all around a really good Soulbind for this fight. And you want to run the Rage Legendary, obviously with Unity, for the long breaths. So you have breath during the whole intermission. And your stats should be crit and mastery, with a little bit more mastery than crit because of IQD during Bloodlust, then to force it into mastery. Also, you can see I play double on use here. The reason for that is that you can use both trinkets in the intermission phase. In the first intermission phase, you use First Sigil with Potion on the first Army of the Dead, Quantum Device with Empower Rune Weapon on the second Army of the Dead. I mean, obviously you have 4-piece. Always play Dual Wield Frost, Rune of Fallen Crusader, Rune of Hysteria, because we have 4-piece. That's pretty much it when it comes to setup. At the start of the fight, you want to use your Dragon, you want to use your Pillar, you want to use your IQD, and your Empower Rune Weapon, but not Breath and not A-Bomb Limp. You want to use all of those and just do a pretty scuffed opener that starts with the normal Frost rotation. You want to use Breath and A-Bomb Limp in the first Kingsmourne phase, which is around 1 minute into the fight. So you want to have that ready and you will get your Pillar back. And the reason you use Empower Rune Weapon is because in that phase, you do not need Empower Rune Weapon. You have too much damage anyway. So after playing your normal rotation opener, the first mechanic that you really need to worry about is Blasphemy, which is called Marks on my bigwigs here. And when that comes, everybody in the raid gets a mechanic, so you need a good spot. And then depending on how you play it, just make sure that you play it good. You can drop globals, boss damage is not important here at all. It's just important to not wipe the raid. So my position is in melee, a little bit to the left here, so I'm between these two guys. In our guild, it's like I'm the yellow guy, so I get to choose who to take. So I chose the guy left to me. Just make sure that when you clear it, you hug the boss, give people room. On this Kingsmourne, I have an AMZ assigned here, and I will instantly sprint here, grip this guy, change this guy, run to the Despair, and then instant press A-Bomb Limp. And group up these ads. And this last ads is getting knocked in by a hunter from over there. And as you can see, the Despair is dying quickly here. That's why we don't need Empower Rune Weapon. The idea is that you grip the one ad from the entrance. This is the entrance right here. Your next global will be Chains. Then you're going to target this ad, run a bit here, and then use your A-Bomb Limb, which will grip this ad once again. And then grip this ad as well over here. Your first two A-Bomb Limbs should grip this ad and this ad. And you can manipulate it a little bit by facing yourself. When you press A-Bomb Limb, the grips from it work like normal grips. They land them up in front of you. So if you face forward like this, you can see this ad will land in front of me. So you can give the ad more distance if you face the right way. Then move the boss further up so the next two ads can get gripped. These two ads will get gripped twice and these will get gripped once each. And then you have a binding here, which is already down. Maybe a stun from your monk. Put also a ring in the middle to make it safer. This is how you do it as a single DK, with a little bit of support from the group that is knocking. So once again, go down, put your zone down, and you also pixel stack here, that's important. So you grip, Chains of Ice, look the right way, A-Bomb Limp, then hit the boss, pop your breath here as well. Make sure you position yourself so the A-Bomb Limp grips everything properly, and also use your Pillar on cooldowns. It's a lot of things at the same time. You can also use your Lichbone here for the leash and the damage reduction. But yeah, don't worry too much about your breath dropping here. Doesn't really matter as much. When you get brought out, just bring out other people and just hit the boss. You will most likely get brought out in such a way that you do not need to worry about Blasphemy. If you get brought out before the cast starts, you need to get out because potentially you can get targeted by Blasphemy. Depends on how many people are outside, if it's an even or uneven number, but you can get targeted. My second Empower Rune Weapon comes up here. Depending on how much damage you need, you can use it to amplify your damage on the souls, which I ended up doing in the end because we needed more damage because they got faster and faster inside. But we mainly hit the boss, so you can make sure your 4-piece goes through the ads, but at some point, you don't want to do this anymore. And then there's something very important here. You want to hug the boss, so if there's enough people outside, that can get targeted by stars, you're not the one that's being targeted. So this is a little bit of an ego move, I want to say, but the way the stars work is that they pick people furthest away from the boss and they go down that priority list. As one of the people outside, you will get blasphemy, and you are probably assigned to stop the enemies here with your blinding sleet, and you can stand behind them and then clear your mark with whoever. We don't really care that much about cleaving the ads too much. We mainly just focus on hitting the boss. Also, on this barrier, I use both my IBF and my AMS. This Pillar of Frost, you need to use it on cooldown exactly for later. And make sure to hug the boss so you don't get targeted by stars, because you're not a really nice target for stars. Then get behind the ads and finish them off when it's called to finish them off, and clear your blasphemy while not exploding the people that stand still when they come out. And then from then on, it's just hitting the boss. You can use one more Remorseless Winter here. When he ports into the middle, you can still hit the boss. Until this debuff comes, the boss still takes full damage. If you have Killing Machine procs, this is when you stop using Killing Machine procs. Don't just go to the ad and wait for it to proc. Do auto attacks on Anduin, because your auto attacks still hit and they can give you Killing Machine procs. Alright, so here a lot of things happen. All your cooldowns, because you popped them properly in a certain way before, they all line up now. Everything is like magic now. Everything that I said before with the Empower Room Weapon, using the Pillar on cooldowns, using the Breath here, it all is for this moment that everything lines up. This is what you want. The goal in this phase is to use your Breath and have it up for the full duration. You want to start off on the Remnant, and now all your cooldowns become ready. On the first part of this phase, what you want to do is you want to use your A-Bomb Limp, your Breath, together with Remorseless Winter. You want to use your Sigil Trinket and Potion, and Pillar obviously. You want to use all of this in the first part of the fight. And then when the ads are in a good position, you also want a Dragon. That's usually with your Pillar. They come up at the same time. I have a lot of threat from the souls, which doesn't really matter, but I pop the Leech from Lich Spawn to counter that. Because you do so much damage in this phase, because you have the damage buff, that Leech is extremely valuable in this phase. You do not want to pop your Empower Rune Weapon here, because you're looking to use your Breath for the whole phase. This is where the second trinket comes in, just before Army of the Dead. But if you use Bloodlust early, make sure you still use it during Bloodlust, because then you get the guaranteed Mastery proc. And then you use Empower Room Weapon as well, together with this trinket. And make sure you hit the Remnant and have a targeting macro for the Monstrous Soul. When it starts casting, you want to be hitting it. So have a targeting macro / target Monstrous Soul, and then ideally also have a targeting macro for Remnant. You always want to hit the Remnant, but you want to hit as many targets, but also the Monstrous Soul as possible. And sometimes it's a good idea to take a step back, take the Dragon, and hit as many targets as you can, and do big damage. But always make sure your Dragon goes through the Remnant. That is the most important thing. Also, use one AMS in this phase, ideally before you use Empower Room Weapon. And this AMS is not a defensive one, it's actually an offensive one. You generate runic power with it. This runic power is very valuable to sustain your Breath. Also, one thing you can keep in mind is when the Monstrous Soul starts casting, it doesn't melee anymore. Early on in progress, if it starts casting and it's suddenly running to a boomkin because there's threat or something, and the tank has taunt on cooldown because they're swapping on the Remnant, you can actually taunt it as a DPS and not die, because it doesn't melee, but it will still come to you. It still moves while casting. So this is something you can do, small min-max, small outplay. Next phase is the Grim Reflection phase. There is not that much to do in this phase for you until we get to the Wombo combo. Make sure you get your interrupt here that you are assigned on. Stand on top of the ad, because no star will ever go through the ad. You can use your AMS here to run through stars and immune them like that. Here we get to the interesting part. It's the third Grim Reflection, and you're obviously in the first Kingsmourne phase. So you're gonna kill this one fast. And then there's a gateway here that goes to the Kingsmourne. When you take this gateway, you wanna stand still. You do not want to move after using this. And also get the gateway control stone or whatever it is. So you don't need to click this gateway. You get the gateway, stand still, just hit the Grim Reflection. Make sure you dot it as well. And then you go down, use Wraithwalk, and then you just play the first phase again. It's exactly the same. A-Bomb Limp, use your Breath, position yourself properly so your grips go the right way. You can use your Lich Spawn again. And then on this phase, you're actually getting brought out early. So this Breath you can usually extend, but the outside phase didn't bring me out fast enough, so I did drop my Breath here, which is quite unfortunate. It's not that bad, but it's really nice if you can sustain this Breath. This kick is then the kick that would extend your Breath even further. So that is why you play this convert. This Breath, you get brought out early, and then you can sustain it on the boss, and then sustain it until the Grim Reflection, and then use that first kick, snipe it fast before the Demon Hunters. That's what you want. And then you nuke that Grim Reflection ad down. It's important to kill this. If there's a Grim Reflection ad, always hit it. Don't worry about boss damage, just make sure this thing dies. It's super important. Also, one thing you can do in Playter is to recolor the Grim Reflection nameplate. So in Playter, what you do, NPC colors, type Grim Reflection, just check enable and make it a certain color. That's what I do. And this is the hardest part of the fight. So there's a couple things to do here. First of all, group 2 went in. So you are in the rotation to stop these ads from casting Banished Souls so they don't die. Second of all, you're in the interrupt rotation for this Grim Reflection of ad. The small ads need to die. And on top of that, you have a lot of raid damage because we have the barrier and Hopebreaker overlap, plus Domination Word Pain, and the boss is casting stars. This is by far the hardest part of the fight. Your main target should always be the Grim Reflection ad. The faster it dies, the better. So make sure you hit that. Also, you're assigned to an interrupt. On this kick, you're not double assigned because your guy that is usually double assigned with you is sent down. So for me, the case was the warrior. He's sent down, so he cannot take the kick. I have to take that kick, 100%. The boss is positioned in such a way that he's in front of the ads. So if you get a star, you need to make sure that the star does not go through this ad, and not through this ad, and not through this ad, which is off screen on the side. You can shoot it this way between these two ads. You can shoot it here or here. Usually you do not want to shoot it here because here, this is where the melees play. I try to find the one that has the same star as me because always pairs of 2. You stack on him, and then when it ends, just be already moving and dodge that star. Do not get hit. You want to hit the reflection, get your kick. Then you're also assigned to the AoE rotation. You want to use your IBF, your AMS, and probably also your zone. You want to use all your defensives here. Usually I save this AMS a little bit to see if I get a star, because sometimes I do get a star. I can immune other stars if they're mispositioned or I have to walk through them to get my kick or something. It's really important that you get this kick. So save this AMS a little bit until you know that you cannot get stars anymore because he's done shooting out stars. Or if you have the star yourself and just use that AMS. This is always the safe spot here. You can hit the Grim Reflection and the ads from this side and there will never be stars here because stars do not go through Anduin. Usually you can move just here a bit, find someone to stand with and then move back to the left. And make sure you get your kicks and your stops. Use your defensives. Use this pillar. This is important to use this pillar. Yeah, the rest of the phase, you have the whole raid back again because you brought them out from the soul ads and you just hit reflections. Usually you just want to stun and silence these ads. So Solar Beam, DK Tank stun is really good. Kidney is super good. Hodge. Right, as you can see, the boss is already immune. So just fish for a Killing Machine proc. I again didn't get one. Kind of unlucky. And then this phase is just a repeat of phase 1. I'm delaying my breath a little bit because we don't have Bloodlust here. I want to have breath up mainly for the ads and the monstrous souls, so I make sure to kill them. Yeah, and then in this phase, because you don't have Bloodlust, as you can see, I had to use Emperor Rune Weapon a bit early. That happens, that's normal. My trinket usage is actually reversed now. The sigil is not ready yet. So you can use IQD on the first wave and then use Potion Sigil on the second wave. This is what you want to do. If you want, you can use your dragon on this one instead, but keep in mind you don't have the pillar here. But you do have the potion and the sigil, so it might be more overall damage because you have that mask grip. Would have been pretty juicy. Doesn't really matter. If you use it on the first one, you probably get it in the end of the boss fight again one more time for a little bit extra boss damage. And then it's last phase. The thing about last phase is pretty simple. You get assigned to do something and you do it. My position is I catch from one of the 2 paladins. So this guy runs in the Beacon of Hope and procs one of those things and I catch it. In Echo on our first kill, I was the one that procced it and mini caught it from me. And we also did 4 at the same time with some healer cooldowns. Here I think we do 2 and then we reset. And then also it's my AMZ here in the beginning. So I'm already positioned. I see this paladin, he's gonna proc it and I'm gonna catch it. And the way it works is when you walk into the circle, it's gonna shoot out basically in reverse. So if this guy walks from here to the middle, so this one will shoot about here. So just make sure you know where your person is standing. If you're catching, see how he's walking in and be prepared to catch it. I just catch, pop a healing potion, don't die, and just go back on boss. Also in this phase, Death Strike is your friend. There's a lot of burst damage here in this phase. A lot of damage from the Empowered Hopebreaker. DK is extremely survivable with Death Strike in this phase. Don't worry about damage too much. Just live. Don't die to damage. If you see something unsoaked, just catch it if someone's not soaking it. Don't get baited by NPCs that might soak it. That looks sometimes weird. And then you get one more breath in this phase. It's just a pretty standard single target breath. These stars, be careful with them. Especially when they bounce towards the edges. Make sure you look at the stars. Just play it safe. Make room for other melees. Don't get silenced. That's the main thing. You do not need to reset a second time unless the whole raid dies. And that's it. There's one more thing in the very beginning of this phase. On this Beacon of Hope cast, you can actually hit the boss here. When this thing grows, the second rank, that's when you cannot stand in there. Don't be too worried about it. Just make sure at the end of the cast, start running out. Like me, play it safe. Alright, that concludes my guide to Anduin Mythic. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe and drop any feedback in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching and see you next time. Let's tell our trusting away.